Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today I got an interesting episode for you guys today because we are playing Super Metroid X Fusion. This ROM hack has been 10 years in the making, and when it was finally announced it was going to be released, my inbox absolutely blew up on Twitter and Discord asking if I was going to be making a video, and of course I am because this is right up my wheelhouse. And honestly, it's basically just taking Metroid Fusion assets and a lot of the storyline beats and inspiration and remaking them within the Super Metroid game from Super Nintendo, because this is played on real Super Nintendo hardware, in this instance the Mr. FPGA core. And I'll tell you right off the top, this thing is absolutely massively ambitious and might be one of the biggest Super Nintendo ROM hacks I have ever seen. And I know if you watch the channel, you trust me and my opinion. I'm also here to say that honestly, I'm not sure what the developers are trying to do here. There is a lot of impressive visuals and technical showcasing here within the ROM hack, but as far as the game in and of itself is concerned, I just can't understand what it's trying to do and who it is for. Now, before you go down below and write that comment that maybe it's not for me, that is 100% a viable option. I talked to a lot of other people that played this. I've looked at a lot of other comments online, and it seems to be a through thread through the entirety of this game is that the balance, the difficulty, as well as just kind of the structure of it is a little bit hard to understand. And trust me, I went into this knowing that the difficulty was going to be much higher than Super Metroid or Metroid Fusion, but the beginning areas of the game don't hold your hand. They actually try to slap it away as they try to say you're going to have a very hard time with this ROM hack. Now, on the upside of things, the presentation here is absolutely flawless. The story that it's telling, the overall screens before you get into the game, all of the assets from the Game Boy Advance Metroid Fusion, those all shine through. You can tell that there's an incredible technical achievement underlying this ROM hack. It is absolutely massive, and I did play this some more after actually capturing the initial batch last night, just for my own fun. I left my laptop on record with my Mr. FPJ and a capture card where I was lying in bed thinking to myself, maybe I just need to get over another hump and this game will open up. And I will tell you, I spent about 2 hours dying basically in the exact same spots and just being frustrated by the experience. So I tried like hell to actually really have fun with this one. And again, if you watch the channel, you know I'm a very fair reviewer. I'm an eternal optimist, and I love to find the silver lining. And honestly, the silver lining here is that the bones on this game are very good. The technical showcase, everything else, this can definitely be patched up and improved upon. And I know there's already a 1.01 patch. That's what I played this on. So hopefully in the future, some of that curve can adjust, because that tunnel that I just fell down right there took me about 5 minutes when I first started playing the game to even find it, because it is in the dark. And that's what I mean when I say it can be hard to get into this actual title. You're not quite sure where you need to go, but also there isn't any signposting to lead you along the way. Now, I understand hard is hard and difficulty is difficulty, and those are fun things, but if you're not quite sure where to go, if your navigation is just kind of left up to luck, that is something in the gameplay design that I think could be worked on. Now, versus the sequence here, absolutely stunning, a massive sprite running through Super Nintendo hardware. This is what you want to see out of a ROM hack like this. And again, on the technical showcase side of things, absolutely flawless. I do question where that monster just went. He kind of just phased out of existence as the screen kind of transitioned. Would have loved to have seen him run all the way off the left hand side of the screen, because objects in motion remain in motion, and if you show somebody something, you kind of want to show them where it ends up going. And that is kind of the thing about this ROM hack. Again, this area right here, absolutely presentation wise flawless. The gameplay is solid, the jumps make perfect sense, but in some ways when I play this, I'm reminded of when I would teach college students how to operate cameras, how to edit films, and basically how to make videos. My entire idea of how to do that, what I taught them was, just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you need to do that thing. Does the thing you're doing add to the overall experience, or are you putting it in there just because it's in your bag of tools and you kind of want to play around with that particular idea, concept, or tool, whether it be a piece of camera equipment or an editing technique? Things need to serve the overall story, and even though a game is a game, not a story, it works in both ways. You kind of want to add things that are going to benefit the experience, and you really want to pare away things that might be subtracting from it. And that's something that I think this ROM hack could use a little bit more of. It's just a little bit of editing and conciseness. But the soundtrack, 10 out of 10 for soundtrack sample, 45 seconds, and I'll be right back with a lot more review. I mean, honestly, you can't go wrong with the music in any version of Metroid, and you're not going to go wrong here. I do want you to know that I really don't love doing videos like this. Half of me wanted to just delete the footage and move on and not make that video whatsoever, but so many people had asked me about it. At the same time, I feel like I should be making videos like this, but I do not enjoy in any way, shape, or form being negative about other people's work, and I will be the first person to admit I've been a working artist for 21 years. That is what I've done for my entire career. I have definitely started projects and even finished projects, though when I look back on them, I think to myself, I was not doing my best work here. So it's one of those things. I 100% have had that issue in the past, and I 100% own up to it. And as far as the trailer for this from the developers, it does look like there is a ton of fun to be had once you actually can maybe get to it. But again, there's just something about the intro areas to this game. There's something about what it's asking of the player that just doesn't end up obviously adding up to being a fun experience. But I do think that it could be fixed up. I do think that it could be changed up to get those players to that. And trust me, like I said, I spent hours trying to acquire more footage for this and just ended up not really having a good time. And when I went through a lot of the comments on the pages, a lot of people seem to have the same issue as well. They just weren't able to get into the game, and the difficulty in navigation were two of the main issues mentioned. And it's one of those things. I understand enemies can be difficult, but in the beginning of the game, they shouldn't be so bullet spongy that beating them feels like blind luck and not actual skill based. Some of the jumps in this game don't feel like you need to be a speedrunning expert at something like Super Metroid or Metroid Fusion. They feel like they're a couple pixels off to the point in time where if you don't push the button at the last possible pixel before you can jump, you're not actually going to be able to get into that jump in and of itself. Or something like this here, shooting the eye on the door. It's going to take 5 well-timed missiles, and sometimes the eye blinks and you can't actually damage it. Other times the eye blinks and you can damage it. And that can be a little bit confusing to people, especially if you haven't played Metroid Fusion in some years like I have. And I 100% admit I am not the person that's played Metroid Fusion in the last year or so. It's probably been 3 or 4 years since I sat down and played that game. But what I'm playing here kind of reminds me of it, but I just want to see more, and I want to be able to get into it, not easier, but just in a more relaxed means. Because even one of those jumps down there to get to that door, which is absolutely something, it kind of felt like it was a near impossibility to do until you got to that final pixel. So that really is kind of the reality of something like Super Metroid X Fusion, at least as I'm encountering it. It is absolutely a beautiful game, and I'm sure the people that made this spent a metric crap ton of time doing it. And I 100% have done this before. You kind of lose yourself in the forest when you spent too much time in there. You're not quite sure where to go next. You're not quite sure what to do next, and that ends up being something where you can end up with a product like Super Metroid X Fusion that has a ton of good disparate ideas, but could use a little bit more reshuffling of those ideas. It's kind of like being a film editor, which I do for a living. Sometimes you put something together and you realize once you're done with it, you basically got off course midway through and then just continued to try to work through it to try to realize that project when really you should have maybe just backed up and kind of reworked it from there. Because think of it like this, the hardest Kaizo Mario ROM hacks out there are still going to signpost the overall concept, what it is you might need to do, and even though the jumps are going to be almost pixel perfect precise, you're going to know that when you fail one, that's because you didn't do what the game asked of you in the way you should have been doing it, and then you read the screen and go from there. Even a jump like this, just put that platform slightly further back. There's no reason there to make your player go around that little curve to be able to jump through the platform. It's not like it's a challenge, it just feels like it's a couple pixels off. But we have destroyed this eye here, and again, you have to have a bunch of good missiles to be able to do that, and resources are going to be very thin in this game, at least at the start. But I do hope the developers continue to work on this and refine it, and if they are watching, trust me, I'm not the type of person that likes to say something you made isn't for me, and I am sure this is going to be for some people out there. It's just one of those things. Everyone I've talked to that has played this so far that I know and trust their opinions has basically walked away with the same kind of feeling that I have. And as far as actually making progress in this game, I might just play it on an emulator so you can do save states, because if you die right here, you're going to be sent back all the way to the beginning of the game. There's no checkpoint after that escape sequence, there's no checkpoint before this boss fight. You die and you're right back to where you started the entire game from. Honestly, this game has a ton of potential and I want to see it realized, and if it gets updated fundamentally, I will do another video. And you know, Video Game Esoteric is optimistic. This one just didn't hit for me. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.